Hare Krishna. So today we will be discussing on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11. So last week we had 9 and 10. So that chapters we discussed. So in the 10th chapter, different types of creation. Like now, under the law, now the Prabhu presented how what are the different types of creation. So in the chapter 11, it's about calculation of time from the atom. So in this chapter, mainly it talks about Vidura asks Maitreya Muni. He wanted to describe him for all the different types of calculations of the time. And so Maitreya Muni describes how from the atom the time is calculated. So who is time and all those things we discuss. So the subject is the time or kala from atom to cosmic scale, and Maitreya Muni is speaking here. And what is theme is measurement of time and its relation to the Supreme Lord. Because he says in chapter 11 also, right, Kalosmi. So he is the time, time I am, he says also in 10th chapter, 11 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So what is the key lesson is time is the Lord's potency. It governs all creation. So this is the summary of verses in chapter 11. Talks about first 1 to 7 verses talks about atomic time and its divisions from atom to Shruti and to day and night. That there are different units of measurement of time are given. So we will learn those from the Vedic perspective of time. Because normally we have right, hours, then minutes and seconds, milliseconds, like that. But in the Vedic, in the Vedic perspective, there are some units of measurement given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So those we will discuss. And from 8 to 12 talks about human and celestial time scales, comparison of earthly and higher planetary time. And from 13 to 16, different yugas and the cycles of those yugas. So the description of 4 yugas and their durations are given. And 17 to 20 talks about days of Brahma, because we already discussed many times this 1 day and 1 night of Brahma and his lifespan. And then 21 to 25 talks about manifestation and annihilation of the creation, repeated creation and dissolution cycles. And 26 to 33, the eternal time factor. Time has Lord's potency in its inescapable influence on the living entities as well as entire creation. How the eternal time factor acts. So as mentioned, the atomic time verses 1 to 7 talks about the smallest unit of material measurement is the anu, or we call it as atom in English. So anu and the paramanu is actually indivisible particle, because anu you can divide, but once the paramanu, the that we cannot divide anymore. That is the smallest particle exists in the creation is paramanu, but smallest unit of measurement is the anu. And these movement of atoms actually constitutes the measurement of time. So combination of two anus is Dhvanuka and the three is Tranuka. So like that there are Renuka. So like that there are some units of measurements are there. And then Bhagavatam presents a precise atomic theory based on the time calculation of the time. So let's see these verses one by one from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maitreya Uvacha चरमसद्विशेषाणाम् अनेको संयुता सदा परमाणु सविज्ञेयो नृणम् ऐक्या भ्रमो यथा. The material manifestations, ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. So the atom is defined here. If it exists always as an indivisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms, the material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by the common man. So Prabhupada actually mentions that atomic description of the Srimad Bhagavatam is almost the same as the modern science of atomism, and this is further described in the Paramanu Vada of Kannada. In modern science, also, the atom is accepted as the ultimate indivisible particle of which the universe is composed. Srimad Bhagavatam is the full text of all descriptions of knowledge, including the theory of atomism. The atom is a minute, subtle form of eternal time. So this is it started with the atom, the atomic theory, where in the science it is mentioned. But here in Bhagavatam also, precisely it's mentioned about the how it is the minute subtle form of eternal time. The people they don't understand the behind what the science what is there. So that Prabhupada actually mentioned about that this is actually mentioned very in detail, further described in the Kannada is another kind of there are different types of knowledge is given, and one of the Vedic scriptures is like Kannada, Nyasa, and like that there are so many different types of Vedic scriptures are there. So Kannada is one of them. So in modern science also, it is accepted as ultimate indivisible particle. सत एव पदार्थस्य स्वरूपावस्थितस्य यत् कैवल्यं परमामहान् अविशेषो निरन्तरा. Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. So how we learnt about the different material elements composed to the creation, how the creation happens in the previous chapters. So here it is mentioned that atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. So when the pradhana is like unmanifested state, but Mahat Tattva with the when it produces the material elements, and these material elements constitutes of all the atoms. Those are actually the ultimate state, because even all the material bodies, everything actually in the state of atoms only. If you see, so when they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called ultimate oneness. So that is before manifestation. And there are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. So those different material elements, those actually constitutes these atoms, and they say it is mentioned that it's a complete manifestation is represented by these atoms. So in the material, in the science, how do we understand the time? Anybody can mention how one can estimate time in the science, whatever we learned from our studies. Any of you can say how do you measure time? Or how do you define time? Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Zoom is unable to detect camera. Make sure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandot Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Yeah. So yeah, we measure the time in like seconds, or like there
Mhm.
are unit, um, minutes and hours, and
Correct,
there
but
are
how?
the
What is the how it? How we know that hours or
me-
minutes time? How it
mechanic
came?
mechanical clock, Prabhu, or
But what is the main? Like how do you? Because we have the calendar, right? How it decides the, the sunrise, sunset, all these things, right? Moonrise, moonset. So all those things, how they are actually calculated. So that
uh,
is based on actually sun. So when the
yeah.
it's the sun is the main thing here for the time, because based on how do we know, it's okay, it's day, it's a day. But suppose if we don't have a clock or anything, right? In olden days,
Yeah.
like in a old stone age, can say when there is no, they don't know any timings at all. They used to, based on the sunrise and sunset only, they used to calculate the time. So when the sun moves from one atom to another atom, actually that is, the time is calculated like based on that. And also, there is a formula. If you have read in science, right? Distance divided by speed.
Is equal to time. Yeah.
Yeah, distance divided by speed equal to time. So what is the distance and what is the time? What is the speed of that? So the distance that sun travels between one atom to another atom, and the speed it travels. So it is everything based on the sun. So the time calculations for us. So that's why it is said one can estimate by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. So through actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the time, but for who is the visible form of that Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually Sun for us to about for the calculation of this time. Sakala Paramanurvai yo bhukte Paramanutam sato Vishesha bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. The time which covers the unmanifest aggregate atom is called the great time. So Prabhupada says time and space are two correlative terms. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. Standard time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun. The time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. The greatest time of all covers the entire existence of the non dual manifestation. All the planets rotate and cover space, and space is calculated in terms of atoms. Each planet has its particular orbit for rotating, in which it moves without deviation, and similarly, the sun has its orbit. The complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution, measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary systems until the end of creation, is known as the supreme Kala. So this is very important to understand, because it's like a subject matter is a little bit philosophical, and says that like the atom and space and time and all these things are mentioned. Just if we understand the science, it's very easy to remember this time and space, right? Because it's a scientific, it's nothing very what we call spiritual or anything, but for us devotees, we understand this time is Krishna is the time, and he is creator and destroyer of everything based on actually time. When the time comes, we don't know what will happen, so how he acts. So so Prabhupada actually mentions that how the covering of a certain space of atoms, based on that how time is calculated. So mainly the movement of the sun from based on the atomic particles. The time is covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. So and he says, so the time in smallest form and time is in a cosmic form also mentioned. So one atom to another atom is one time, and also from entire cosmic manifestation, the cosmic time is also mentioned here. So that the greatest time of all covers the entire existence of non-dual manifestation, and all the planets rotate and cover space, and space is calculated in terms of atoms. So that time and space. So these things we need to understand. So we say, right, without any intervention, how these planets orbits, everything is rotating, based on this time only. So that is Krishna, how he is actually without, touching anything, he is making all this happen, just and just by his own potency. So the complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary system until the end of creation, that is called supreme time or a supreme kala for one whole creation, and then at the end is dissolution happens. How Krishna can become like a huge, gigantic, universal form, and also he can become a thumb size of the thumb that we have read in Bhagavatam. So similarly, the time is also a smallest unit of the atom, right from, and also the entire the supreme time, whole creation and manifestation. You can just see from the smallest measurement of the atomic time to the cosmic time how much difference is there. So because he is the supreme, he can manifest in any way smallest unit of measurement of time and the entire cosmic manifestation. So we will discuss in detail those timings. So the divisions of gross time is calculated as follows. Two atoms make one double atom, and the three atoms make one hexatom. Three double atoms make one hexatom. So the hexatom is visible in the sunshine, which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hexatom goes up towards the sky. So here Prabhupada says that atom is described as an invisible particle, but when six such atoms combine together, they are called a Trisharenu. And this is visible in the sunshine pouring through the holes of a window screen. So that's what it is mentioned. Even atom is difficult to see, but the hexatom, it is visible through the sunshine. If you observe how the sun rays and the sunshine comes, maybe you can see that hexatom, through the those sun rays coming from there. Then the time duration needed for the integration of the three Trisharenos is called Truti, and 100 Trutis make one Veda, three Vedas make one Lava. So these are different types of units of measurement given here. So it is calculated that if a second is divided into 1607.5 parts, so we have a millisecond, right? So 1000 milliseconds equal to 1 second. So here it says 1687.5 parts of the second is 30. So that means it is less than the millisecond, the 30, which is the time occupied in the integration of 18 atomic particles. Just see, it's very difficult to imagine for us, for our minds, that this Shruti, how it is calculated. Integration of 18 atomic particles is that Shruti. And such a combination of atoms into different bodies creates the calculation of material time. The sun is the central point for calculating different duration, that we know, because the sun is the main central point for a calculation of the time between atoms and different particles. And here it is mentioned, so the integration between different atomic particles is the Truti, which is 1687.5 of the second. The duration of time of three lavas is equal to one nimesha. The combination of the three nimeshas makes one kshana. Five kshanas combined together make one kasta, and 15 kastas make one lagu. So further division of the time is given here. So by calculation, it is found that one lagu is equal to 2 minutes. So if you calculate the seconds and the minutes of what we know according to our time calculation, so the atomic calculation of time in terms of Vedic wisdom may be covered into present time with this understanding. So it is said duration of three lavas equal to one nimesha, and combination of three nimeshas makes one kshana, and five kshanas makes one kasta, and 15 kastas make one lagu. So, so one lagu is equal to 2 minutes. If you calculate the you know Triti to lava to nimesha and kshana and the kshana to kasta and one lagu. So one lagu we can calculate as 2 minutes. And 15 lagu. Okay, let's go to 1 to 7 is what we have. Yeah. So time for sunlight to cross an atom is calculated as Truti, and 100 Trutis is one Veda, and three Vedas is one Lava, and three Lavas is one Nimesha, and three Nimeshas one Kshana, five Kshanas one Kasta, and 15 Kastas one Lagu. So, and 15 Lagus, that means how much? One Lagu is 2 minutes. So 15 Lagus is 30 minutes. 30 minutes, it says 24 minutes approximately, but one Nadika is approximately 24 minutes because one Lagu 22 minutes also the calculation is not exactly right, but it's less than 2 minutes, it seems. And then it says 30 muhurtas is one day night cycle. So the so 15 muhurtas is one day or one night. So like that we can calculate. So 12 hours, right, is 15 muhurtas. Then you calculate how much one muhurta is. That actually, I think Arjuna Gopaprabhu also mentioned in his presentation, the muhurta and the Brahma muhurta, what also we spoke about during that time. And so it illustrates progression from subtle to gross time, that these calculations. And so now the celestial time. On the verses 8 to 12 talks about celestial time. So one day of demigods is one human year, and 6 months of their day become 6 months equal to their night. So our 6 months is their day, another 6 months is their night. So that means 1 year of us is equal to one day for the heavenly planets or demigods. And time scale expands with planetary hierarchy. Even higher beings remain bound by time. Because even though demigods, but still, even though the time span is more there, but still it is bound by time only. So it says, are you able to hear? It says my internet connection is unstable. I'll just move to a place. Hare Krishna, can you all hear me?
Yes, bro.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So 15 lagus makes one nadika, which is also called a dhanda, and two dandas make one muhurta, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night, according to human calculation. So 1/4 of a day means how many hours? 3 hours, right? So 3 hours is 3 hours is 7 dandas, and oh, 6 of 7 dandas make one fourth of a day or night, 6 or 7 dandas. So based on that, it is like 3 hours according to human calculation. And then the measuring pot for one najika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pala weight, 14-ounce pot of copper in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masa and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called one danda. See how they are measuring the time. So, so hourglass. Have you heard about hourglass? Hourglass, the like sand particles actually pour into the container. So from the top, it actually comes. Actually, if they count the measurement of time, how much time it takes to bring that what whatever the sand particles or whatever is in that container from top to the bottom. So the time is also calculated like that. Here it is the measuring pot. They also measure based on this 6 pala weight, the 14-ounce pot of copper in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 massa and measuring 4 fingers long. Then, when the pot is placed on water, the time before water overflows, that is called danda. So that's how they calculate based on if you know about hourglass. That's the same similar concept of that. So Prabhupada actually mentioned that it is advised herein that the bore in the copper measuring pot must be made with a probe weighing not more than 4 masha and measuring not longer than 4 fingers. This regulates the diameter of the hole. The pot is submerged in water and the overflowing time is called danda. This is another way of measuring the duration of danda, just as time is measured by a sand in a glass. It appears that in the days of Vedic civilization, there was no dearth of knowledge in physics, chemistry, or higher mathematics. Measurements were calculated in different ways as simply as it could be done. So Prabhupada actually mentions how those even Vedic timing, are based on this science. So there was all the knowledge was there at that time that these measurements were given based on the scientific calculation with the pot measurement. And it is calculated that there are four praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and four in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are two fortnights, white and black, in a month. So we also get based on how these comes all the timings based on the sun movement we said, right? There is a Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, and Krishna Paksha, Sukla Paksha. So all these things comes from these timings only. So the fortnight. So this is also given in chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita's somewhat mentioned about the fortnight of the waxing moon, waning moon, and sun goes into the north, sun goes into the different directions, right? So all these timings are given based on the movement of the sun only, right? And also the movement of the moon. So it is said there are four praharas and which are also called yamas in the day and four in the night of human being. So 15 days and nights are a fortnights and there are two fortnights in a month. So white and black. The aggregate of two fortnights is 1 month, and that period is one complete day and night for the Pitta planets. So if you want to calculate the time in the Pitta planets, um, so that entire so that one, the aggregate of two fortnights is 1 month, and that period is one complete day and night. So one day. So for us, one day, 1 month equal to their one day. And whereas for demigods, it is our 1 year equal to their one day. So as the higher, as we go on the higher planet system, the time scale is so large for them. The lifespan is also more for them. So, but for the Pitru planets, it is 1 hour, 1 month equal their 1 day. Two of such months comprise one season, and 6 months comprise one complete movement of the sun from south to north. The two solar movements make one day and night of the demigods, and that combination of day and night is one complete calendar year for the human being. So the human being has a duration of life of 100 years. So
Yeah, so
Hare Krishna, sorry, somehow my internet got disconnected. Were you able to hear what we mentioned in the? Let me share again. Were you able to hear this verse 12? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji's. Were you able to hear the verse
n-
12?
no, Prabhu.
Okay. So I was talking about, because it internet, I don't know when it got disconnected suddenly. So I was talking about the how two solar movements make one day and night of the demigods, which is our actually 1 year, because their 1 day equal to our 1 year, and we live for that human being has a duration of life of 100 years. So when this actually we try, it is mentioned by the acharyas that that life, the precious, we have a precious time in our lives, right? A very small time compared to their 1 day of is like 1 year for us, and such 100 years is our lifespan. So we should not waste time, and we should use every minute and every second in our uh, devotional service, or whatever the assigned duties for us. So that's why it is mentioned the calculation of the time in respect to the higher planetary systems. So we have very less time compared to them. 8 to 12. So now 13. So now from this calculation, it talks about four yugas, and what is the span of each yuga, and what is represented in each yuga is given. So verses 13 to 16 describes these four yugas. So Satya Yuga, like 1.728 million years. The truth and meditation is the main theme at that Satya Yuga. So everybody, all the four padas of the dharma was actually dharma is going in Satya Yuga. It was very nicely it's going, because everybody follows dharma during that time. And even Treta Yuga is 1.296 million years. Is yajna or sacrifice is the main theme during that time. And Dwapara Yuga is 864,000 years, which is what deity worship and opulence is the main theme during that time. And Kali Yuga, 432,000 years, the quarrel and hypocrisy. And one Mahayuga is 4.32 million years. So that means combination of all these yugas is one Mahayuga, that is 4.32 million years. So it says influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. And purport. Prabhupada says in the Brahma Samhita it is stated that the sun is the eye of the Supreme, and it rotates its particular orbit of time. Similarly, beginning from the sun down to the atom, all bodies are under the influence of Kala Chakra or the orbit of eternal time, and each of them has a scheduled orbital time of one samvatsara. So we call it as 1 year is like one samvatsara. How it is calculated is given here, the Kala Chakra. संवत्सरा परिवत्सरा इदवत्सरा एव च अनुवत्सरो वत्सरश्च विदुरैवं प्रभाष्यते. There are five different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they have each of their own samvatsara. So, the subject matters of physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, time, and space dealt with in the above verses of Srimad Bhagavatam are certainly very interesting to students of the particular subject. But as far as we are concerned, we cannot explain them very thoroughly in terms of technical knowledge. The subject is summarized by the statement of the above all different branches of knowledge is the supreme control of Kala, the plenary representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing exists without him, and therefore everything, however wonderful it may appear to our meager knowledge, is but the work of the magical wand of the Supreme Lord. As far as time is concerned, we beg to subjoin here with a table of timings in terms of the modern clock. So Prabhupada is saying, yes, the subject matter of this different names of the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, luminaries, everything is there. But we cannot describe all that knowledge here. But according to what the knowledge what we have is supreme control of Kala, who is the plenary representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says we know that nothing exists without him and nothing moves without his order. And yeah, this actually we discussed, right? 158, 13,500 second, where the one lagu is 2 minutes, one danda is 30 minutes, one prahara is 3 hours, and one day is 12 hours, one night is 12 hours, one paksha is 15 days. So, like that, Prabhupada actually is giving uh, those timings to our calculation of time, human calculation of time. And in the Brahma Samhita, right? So Yachakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurtirasesha Teja Yashvajnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So I worship Govinda, the primary Lord of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. So we also there is a light years, right? We studied in our science. So that's also calculated from the this only sun only, the light years we call it as. So because he is the main unlimited potency between for the heat and light, from that actually we calculate everything. So sun's presence is very important. That's why those who are not devotees also, I know many people, they do the every day morning they wake up and they actually pray to the sun god, because he is visible god for us. Even though Krishna is within our hearts, we chant every day, but there is no harm in paying obeisances to the sun who is giving us light every day, right? Without light actually everything will be in dark. So there is also like Surya Namaskaras they do for the good health, and people also chant Aditya Hridayam. There is a saying, because some devotees they think, oh, why we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we don't need these all things. Those people, Hindus, so-called Hindus, they do all these things, but we don't need to be so what we call. Uh, there is a term, right? What is that called? Sometimes we are um, get hold of this, like, because we just think Hare Krishna mantra is enough, but there are so many things we should respect. We should respect the sun, like, because he is giving us He's behind. No, the time is calculated because of him, and he is giving us heat and light. So the he is a representative, right? That Krishna appoints him for a particular purpose. So we should. I'm not saying we should worship sun, but we should pay our obeisances and just be respectful. Because one of my friend, actually he's a priest, and he has a temple in the name of sun only. Because I grew up in a place where is the sun god temple is very famous. It is called Arasavalli. It's a sun god temple, and also the biggest temple is in Konark in Orissa. Konark in Orissa is a very huge temple of sun god, and there, how the time calculation happens, because the whole sun rays goes into the temple every day. So they actually measure the time based on the sun only. It is also represented by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the G20 summit about the Konark temple. So it's very famous temple that directly sun god actually goes into that in the form of rays, the temple. But in the temple what I mentioned where I grew up is only once in a year. It's called Radha Saptami. There is a specific tithi on that in that year, Radha Saptami. On that day, the rays of the sun directly goes into the temple deity of the sun god there. So these are the things we can see how the sun god acts, uh, and it's directly his presence is visible in some of those temples. And then he says, O Vidra, the sun enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. He diminishes the duration of life of all living entities in order to release them from their illusion of material attachment, and he enlarges the path of elevation to the heavenly kingdom. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity, and therefore everyone should offer him respects once every 5 years with all ingredients of worship. So it is in Srimad Bhagavatam only it is there. So I don't know what is the significance of this every 5 years. I was trying to do some research, but we should worship sun. It is given here because he is enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. So here Maitreya Muni is talking to Vidura and giving why we have to worship sun god is mentioned here. Every day we should offer him respects, right? One he says once every 5 years. I don't know why. What is the reason? Vidura said, I now understand the life durations of the residents of the Pitha planets and heavenly planets as well as that of the human beings. Now kindly inform me of the durations of life of those greatly learned living entities who are beyond the range of a kalpa. So now Vidura is saying he understood the life durations of the Pitha planets and heavenly planets and that of the human beings, the relative calculation of those. And now he is asking the cosmic times in the range of Kalpa. He is talking about the supreme Kala and eternal time of these, the range of Kalpa. Okay. So the partial dissolution of the universe takes place at the end of Brahma's day. It does not affect all the planetary systems. The planets of highly learned living entities like the sages Sanaka and Bhrigu are not affected by the dissolution of the millenniums. All the planets are of different types and each is controlled by a different Kala Chakra or a schedule eternal time. The time of the Earth planet is not applicable to other, more elevated planets. Therefore, Vidura here inquires about the duration of life on other planets, not on the just Earth planet, but other planets. And some living entities are the personalities, how they are actually existing even after some Kala Chakra, and what is their duration of the things how they exist also discussed in the next verses, I believe. So this 13 to 16 is this. And now, day and night of Lord Brahma, verses 17 to 20 describes. In many verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, this is mentioned. Sahasra Yoga Paryantam, like that, so many in verses actually describes. Many times this Brahma's day and night calculation is given. And here it is again. So 1,000 Mahayugas is one day of Brahma, right? Earlier in previous verses we learned it's like one Mahayuga or like 4 yugas combinedly, it is called 4.32 million years, and 1,000 such Mahayugas, and that means 1,000 multiplied by the 4.32 million years is 4.32 billion years. So that is 1,000 Mahayugas. That is one day of Brahma. And similarly, night also, right? So night of equal duration is partial annihilation. Partial annihilation happens during that time. And Brahma's lifespan is 100 years. So 100 such years. You just say one day of Brahma is 4.32 billion years, then it is 311 trillion years is 100 years of Brahma, his lifespan, which we cannot even imagine what is 311 trillion years, human years. Even Brahma is subject to time, of course, but that time is not, even though he is subject to time, but that, no, we cannot. It's difficult for us to inconceive that 311 trillion years. Because what is the 100 years in the part of like 311 trillion years? Like how much percentage is like 100 years, right? You cannot put how many point zero 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 like that. So that is because sometimes we underestimate Brahma. Oh, he is also a Jiva. He's just, he also have time 100 years. He will die after 100 years. But just compare our, our 100 years with his 311 trillion years. So we should understand what is the significance of like Brahma. We should not underestimate any demigod. Because they are also representatives of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should respect all demigods, sun god, Brahma, everyone. And then we will go to 17 to 20 verses here. Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the moments of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. There's those who have reached the highest perfectional stage or mystic power can see everything in the past, present, and future are called Trikala Jnanis. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord can see everything clearly, that is, in the revealed scriptures. So, Jnana Chakshusha, we say, right? So, the devotees actually see through the revealed scriptures of the, what was given to us. The devotees of Lord Sri Krishna can very easily understand the science of Krishna as well as the situation of the material and spiritual creations without difficulty. Devotees do not have to endeavor for any yoga siddhi or perfection of mystic powers. They are competent to understand everything by the grace of the Lord who is sitting in everyone's heart. So this is very important because we know this, because a lot of sages they have so many powers, these three kala jnanis, right? They can see past, present, and future. They can travel between the planets. They can go from one planet to another planet. They go from material world to the heavenly planets, that planet, like that. But devotees, they don't need all these mystic powers. Prabhupada is saying just by, because Krishna is sitting in our hearts, by chanting every day, we actually invoking that devotion and love through, and pointing, actually looking at the Lord in our hearts. So that way, because he gives us that understanding. In Bhagavad Gita also it is mentioned, right? He gives that buddhi or intelligence. Through that we can understand him. So that is the advantage for devotees. to understand this knowledge. Maitreya said, O Vidura, the four millenniums are called Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. The aggregate number of years of all these combined equal to 12,000 years of the demigods. So 12,000 years of the demigods. So for us, like, but there one day is our 1 year. So calculate it like that. So 12,000 multiplied by, the demigods calculation, right? There 12,000 years is how many our years? We can calculate. In multiplied by 365, 1 day is like 365 years. Like that, we can see how much 360 years of humankind. As will be clarified in the subsequent verses, 12,000 of the demigods here, including the transitional periods, which are called Yuga Sandhyas, comprise the total of the aforementioned 4 millenniums. Thus, aggregate of the above mentioned 4 millenniums is 432, right? 4.32 million years. So it is, the calculation is given here like that. So it is mentioned these Yuga Sandhyas are also the lifespan, the span of those Yuga Sandhyas are also more. And we just passed the 5,000 plus years of, right, this Kali Yuga. It is mentioned we have not yet reached actually Kali Yuga. It is still Yuga Sandhya. We are going through the Yuga Sandhya only. From Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, when the Yuga Sandhya happens. So we are still in the beginning of the Kali Yuga, which is the juncture of these Yugas only. We are still there in the Yuga Sandhya, the transitional period only. So it's still, there is so much to go. 432,000 years minus 5,000, right? So that much we still have for so much in the Kali Yuga. We are just still in the Yuga Sandhya of this Kali Yuga. And the duration of the Satya millennium equals 4,800 years of the years of demigods. The duration of the Treta millennium equals 3,600 years of the demigods. The duration of Dwapara millennium equals 2,400 years. And that of the Kali millennium is 1,200 years, which is 432,000 years. So the calculations are given, and we have seen that earlier. And Sandhya Sandhyam Shayorantar Yakala Satasankyayo Tameva Huryugam Tajna Yatra Dharmo Vidiyate. The transitional periods before and after every millennium, which are a few hundred years as aforementioned, are known as Yuga Sandhyas, or the conjunctions of two millenniums. According to the expert astronomers, in those periods, all kinds of religious activities are performed. So for us, means also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the 10,000 years of golden age, right? So we are actually in that golden age also. It is according to that calculation. So you see a lot, many places, all the, every day we actually perform all the rituals at our temples, right? And the religious activities are actually going on still everywhere. So text 20. So the cycles of creation, verses 21 to 25. So creation manifests during Brahma's day, and then withdrawn into the Lord's body at night. The creation and dissolution happens in the night, the partial one. After Brahma's life, total dissolution or Mahapralaya happens, and the repetition signifies material temporariness, because this is a chakra. It goes on, right? How the Yuga chakra happens, similarly the Kala chakra of the eternal cosmic time also have the cycles. So the cycles of creation and dissolution happens. Those are discussed in 21 to 25. O Vidura, in the Satya millennium, mankind properly and completely maintained the principles of religion, but in other millenniums, religion gradually decreased by one part as irreligion was proportionately admitted. In the Satya millennium, complete execution of religious principles prevailed. Gradually, the principles of religion decreased by one part in each of the subsequent millenniums. In other words, at present, there is one part religion and three parts irreligion. Therefore, people in this age are not very happy because quarrel and hypocrisy, because of the irreligious, more parts of irreligion. Outside of the three planetary systems, Swarga, Matsya, and Pathala, the four yugas multiplied by 1000 comprises one day in the planet on the planet of Brahma. A similar period comprises a night of Brahma, in which creator of the universe goes to sleep. So it is Prabhupada saying that when Brahma goes to sleep in his night time, the three planetary systems below Brahmaloka are all submerged in the water of the devastation. In his sleeping condition, Brahma dreams about the Garbhodak Sai Vishnu and takes instruction from the Lord for the rehabilitation of the devastated area of space. After the end of Brahma's night, the creation of the three worlds begins again in the daytime of Brahma, and they continue to exist through the life durations of 14 consecutive Manus, or fathers of mankind. And the end of each life of each Manu, there are shorter dissolutions also there. So there are 14 Manus, and each Manu has a lifespan, and in each life of each Manu also there are shorter resolutions, not only during the Brahma's day and night, but also during this Manvantara, we say, right? Manvantara, that between one Manu to each Manu, there is a shorter resolution also there. So we are in Vaivasvatara Manvantara, right? Vaivasvatara Manvantara. We are in that lifespan. And we are in the second Prahara of the, that is like second 50 years of Brahma's lifespan. We are in that. Manor Sadikam hi Ekasaptatim. Each and every Manu enjoys a life of little more than 71 sets of 4 millenniums. Yeah, 71 Mahayugas. Because 4 millenniums is one Mahayuga, then 71 Mahayugas is life of Manu. So Prabhupada is actually talking about the calculation of those, how many years for 300, this total years of life of Manu, the 71 Mahayugas in terms of the years. After the dissolution of each and every Manu, the next Manu comes in order along with his descendants who rule over the different planets. But the seven famous sages and demigods like Indra and their followers, such as Gandharvas, all appear simultaneously with Manu. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and each of them has different descendants. In the so now let's eternal time, all the Kala. So from verses 26 to 33, the Kala is impersonal feature of the Lord, controls all beings and elements. Lord is beyond time. He directs it, and time destroys all material existence. So that's why the time, is very important because, Krishna says, time aeon is destroying, devouring of death, right? So these all, because the material existence is destroyed by time, but that means our lifespan is also decreased day by day. So in the creation during Brahma's day, three planet systems, Svarga, Matsya, and Patala revolve, and the inhabitants, including the lower animals, human beings, demigods, pitas, appear and disappear in terms of their fruitive activities, because we are in that lower planet systems compared to the Brahma's planet. And in each and every change of Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears by manifesting his internal potency, different incarnations as Manu and others. Thus, he maintains the universe by discovered power. At the end of the day, and an insignificant portion of the mode of darkness, the powerful manifestation of the universe merges in the darkness of night. By the influence of eternal time, the innumerable living entities remain merged in the dissolution, and everything will be silent. So, when the night of Brahma ensures all the three worlds are out of sight and the sun and moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. So it is understood that glare of sun and moon also disappear from the three worlds, but the sun and moon themselves do not vanish. So that we have understood. We cannot see the sun and moon, but they will be there always. But we won't be able to see during that time of the dissolution. They appear in the remaining portion of the universe, which is beyond the sphere of the three worlds. The portion in dissolution remains without sun rays or moon glow. It all remains dark and full of water. There are indefatigable winds, as explained in the following verses. Because we can't see all those things. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarsana, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. So even those great sages who lives during that dissolutions, they move from one planet to another planet because they have those mystical powers, because they cannot bear that uh, heat coming from the mouth of Sankarsana during that time. At the beginning of the devastation of all the seas overflow and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all the three worlds are full of water. So this is how the dissolution happens is given, and Prabhupada is explaining in the purport of those blazing fire of Sankarsana for 100 years of demigods. People forget all these devastations of the world, think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, or that which is not. Because we don't understand, right? For us, like we are ignorant of this. And that's why Prabhupada says we think we are happy, but we can see the devastation, how it happens. And we actually see, because this is a dissolution which happens which we cannot see, but in our own experience, the how the nature acts, right? These torrents of rain, because we I don't know how much we experience in California, but in other east coast and central they experience a lot these tornadoes and the torrents of rain, winds, and all those things. The supreme lord of the personality of Godhead lies down in the water of the sea seat of Ananta with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of the Janaloka planets offer unto the Lord their glorious prayers with folded hands. We should not understand the sleeping condition of Lord to be same as our sleep. Prabhupada is saying that. Now, here the word yoga nidra is specifically mentioned. It's not ordinary nidra, which indicates that Lord's sleeping condition is also a manifestation of his internal potency. Whenever the word yoga is used, it should be understood that is transcendental. In the transcendental stage, all activities are all present and they are glorified by prayers of great sages like Prabhu. Thus, the process of the exhaustion of the duration of life exists for every one of the living beings, including Lord Brahma. One's life endures for only 100 years in terms of the times in the different planets. So, our 100 years is completely different from Brahma's 100 years. Uh, so, Prabhupada actually is talking about every living being lives 100 years, and the longest duration of 100 years belongs to Brahma, and he performs devotional service. But even humans who have developed a sense of responsibility while away their valuable time without engaging in devotional service to the Lord, they live merrily unafraid of impending death. This is the madness of human society. The madman has no responsibility, but devotees actually they know about the importance of this, the time, and that's why Prabhupada says it is necessary that every human being responsible in preparing himself for next life, even he has a duration like that of a Brahma, the greatest of all living creatures within the universe. So the 100 years of Brahma's life are divided into two parts, first half and second half. We already discussed this. The first half of the duration of Brahma's life is already over, and second half is now current. And the duration of 100 years is already discussed earlier. And in the beginning of the first half of Brahma's life, there was a millennium called Brahmakalpa, wherein Lord Brahma appeared, the birth of the Vedas, simultaneous with Brahma's birth. So this is mentioned in Padma Purana in Prabhasha Kanda. The 30 days of Brahma, many kalpas take place, and the such Varaha Kalpa, Pitra Kalpa, those are actually mentioned in the next chapters of this canto. Varaha Kalpa is mentioned here. 30 days takes 1 month of Brahma, beginning of the full moon, and 12 such months complete 1 year. And then Sveta Varaha, appearance of the Lord, is first birthday of Brahma. The birthday of Brahma is 1 month in the month of March. Birth date of Brahma is the month of March according to Hindu astronomical calculation. This statement is reproduced from the explanation of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Prabhupada actually did a lot of research you know, for us to understand. There is also birth date of Brahma in the month of March. And the millennium which is followed, the first millennium is known as the Padma Kalpa, because in that millennium is the universal lotus flower grew out of the navel reservoir of water of the personality of Godhead Hari. So that's why in the Padma Kalpa they say the millennium following Brahma Kalpa is known as the Padma Kalpa because the universal lotus grows in that millennium. The Padma Kalpa is also called Pitra Kalpa in certain Puranas. And O descendant of Bharata, the first millennium is the second half of the life of Brahma, is also known as the Varaha millennium because the personality of God appeared in that millennium as the hog incarnation. So the different millenniums known as Brahma, Padma, and Varaha Kalpas appear a little puzzling for the layman. There are some scholars who think the Kalpas be one and the same. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Brahma Kalpa in the beginning of the first half appears to be the Padma Kalpa. We can, however, simply abide by the text and understand the present millennium in the second half of the duration is the life of Brahma. We say, right? Sveta Varaha Kalpe Vaivashvata Manvantare Kali Yuge. So that Kalpa they are talking about there. The duration of the two parts of Brahma's life above mentioned is calculated to be equal to 1 nimesha, less than a second for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the calculation is given. You see that the two parts of Brahma's life, we say two praharas, right? 100 years is like one less than a second for Supreme Personality of Godhead. So from Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahma is that much. And just can we imagine our our time with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Time is like less than a second is 100 years of Brahma. What to speak of human life compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's time, who is unchanging and unlimited, cause of all causes of the universe. The great sage Maitreya has given a considerable description of the time and dimensions and everything. And the entire duration of the life of Brahma is calculated is less than a seconds of Lord's time. It is explained here, right? Brahma Samhita. Yashai kanishvashita kalamatavalamya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha Vishnur mahansa yahayasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So here also the everything is given the calculations. I worship Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, whose plenary portion is Mahavishnu. All the heads of innumerable universes live only by taking shelter of the time occupied by one of his breaths. The impersonalists do not believe in the form of the Lord, and thus they would hardly believe in the Lord sleeping. Their idea is obtained by poor fund of knowledge. They calculate everything in terms of man's capacity. They think that the existence of Supreme is just the opposite of human existence. Because a human being has senses, the Supreme must be without sense perception. That is their understanding. And it is clearly stated that Supreme Lord rests in Yoga Nidra. Naturally, he must breathe. And the Brahma Samhita confirms that within his breathing period, innumerable Brahmas take birth and die. Now his glance, just by his glance, all creation takes place, and just by his breathing, so many Brahmas comes and goes, and so many manifestations. There is complete agreement between Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Samhita. Eternal time is never lost. Along with the life and Brahma, it continues, has no ability to control. In the spiritual world, there is undoubtedly time, but it has no control over activities. There is unlimited. Spiritual world is also unlimited. And then eternal time is certainly the controller of different dimensions. From that, the atom up to the super divisions of Brahma's life, but nevertheless is controlled by the Supreme. Time can only control. This phenomenal material world is expanded into a diameter of 4 billion miles as a combination of 8 material elements transformed into 16 further categories within and without as follows. So the total material manifestation and how these 24 material elements and expanded to 4 billion miles is the material world, the size of the material world. So Prabhupada actually mentioned about the Sankhya philosophy and those things. The layers, elements covering the universe are each 10 times thicker than the one before, and all the universes clustered together appear like atoms in huge combination. So the dimensions of these layers and all those things given in the fifth canto in detail, it is mentioned there in fifth canto. The coverings of the universe are also constituted of the elements of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and each 10 times thicker than one before. You cannot imagine actually the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first covering of universe Earth is 10 times thicker than the universe itself. If the universe is 4 billion miles in size, then the size of the earthly covering of the universe is 4 billion times 10. Then the covering of water is 10 times greater than that. Just imagine how much, or we cannot even imagine the diameters of those layers of the universe. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, therefore said to be the original cause of all causes. Thus, he is the Sarva Karana Karanam. Thus, the spiritual abode of Vishnu is eternal without a doubt. He is also the abode of Mahavishnu, the origin of all the manifestations. So, Prabhupada is actually talking about how he appears temporarily in the Mahatattva for the temporary manifestation of the material world. Is a plenary portion of Lord Sri Krishna, and then also is non-different from Krishna. His formal appearance in the material world is temporary. And here, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. So from smallest atom to the complete manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in all these things, the calculation of time from the atom. So any questions or comments quickly before we go into the module review of all chapters from 1 to 11?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Um, it's a small comment, but before that, maybe I'll just ask a small question,
Good.
just to all the students,
Good,
or
Prabhu.
everybody, who can answer. Here this chapter uh, discusses about time. So we also have the modern science explanation of time. Here we see the Vedic science explanation of time.
Yes.
So the question is very simple. Like, what is the main difference between the modern science and the Vedic science? Of course, I mean, they have their own ways of calculating time. That's all right. I mean, science has a way of calculating through sun, and the Vedas are calculating through atom. I mean, other than this, what is a very big difference between the modern science understanding of time and the Vedic science understanding of time? There's one very big factor actually. Anybody can guess what it is?
So in the scriptures, right, what the time division calculation is based on the how it is in the based on the atom how they calculate those,
Correct. Yeah,
right?
those differences are there. Yeah, that
Yeah,
difference is there. But
correct.
other than that, what is the other big difference between the modern science time and the Vedic science time?
In he says Krishna is Aham Kalosmi. So This is the
Right.
understanding in Vedic philosophy of the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
each
yeah.
whenever you are passing the time, the goal is where you are like near to the Lord, or you are like engaged your time in material
Mhm.
activities. That is the
Yeah,
Vedic understanding of the time. Whereas in the modern age, time is just the passing of the years and becoming the old. There is no understanding of coming closer to the Lord.
yeah. So actually, that this answer is very close. If you to understand the exact difference, we should go to the definition of time. Actually, the definition of time is given in the previous chapter, verse number 11. If you go to verse number 11 of the previous chapter,
310, right?
um,
310.
yeah, 3, 10, 11. Can someone pull the screen that and then
Yeah, yeah,
show?
I'm there. This is 310, right?
Yes, yes, 3, 10, 11. Previous chapter 11th verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This
Eternal
is the
time is the
definition of time.
primal source.
Yes. Eternal time is the primary source of interactions of three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless. These are the two qualities. And the third quality is that it works as an instrument of Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in material creation. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives a further commentary to this. So the main difference is that time, according to Vedic science, is one of the causes. That's a big thing. Actually, a modern science doesn't say that time is a cause. Time doesn't cause anything, right? But according to Vedic science, time causes something because time is defined as an impersonal energy of the Lord. And in the Sankhya also, philosophy also, when a Mahatattva gets disturbed, they give three reasons. Uh, one is the one is the glance of Lord Vishnu, other is the karma, and third one is the time. So basically, time is one of the causes. Yeah, so that's a big thing. Modern science never says time will cause anything, no. But Vedic science says that time is one of the causes. That's the main difference.
Yeah, because you see, because Krishna says time I am, and we know he is the supreme cause of all causes, so indirectly, definitely, time is the cause of, yeah. And for modern science, time is just for them to know how to spend time, right, in the material activities, like Mataji mentioned. Yeah, for them, time is not cause, but time is how we can say that in time is the duration of like interval between their activities or something like that, because their understanding in the modern science is for us to calculate the number of years, months, and all these things. Means even the calendar, Prabhu. So what you talk about? Okay, you're saying about modern science and the spiritual science. How? What do you think about our calendar? Suppose Vaishnava calendar. Forget about the other calendars. What do you think about Vaishnava calendar, where we have all the thidis are given, and we actually celebrate some of the thidis. We fast and we celebrate. So all these things are given, right? So means, do you say it's a modern time, or how do you? What is? Means I'm open this question to everyone.
I lost because in between because I got
Okay.
disconnected.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. I was asking the question. So you mentioned that the real understanding between the modern science and the spiritual understanding is time is the cause, which the modern science doesn't understand. But I am asking a question here, that how do you understand the Vaishnava calendar based on the time, and everything is based on modern calendar, but the Vaishnava calendar has a specific purpose for. So how do we correlates between the modern science and astronomy and the time calculations for the Vaishnava calendar?
Yeah, if somebody else wants to explain, go ahead. Then I'll add later. Yeah, so I mean, um, so how you calculate time, that is I mean, again, based on some material considerations only, right? It is
Yes.
based upon sun's movement or some atoms movement. It is still material. It is nothing spiritual there, right?
Yeah.
So it is just a material science. Now, how you calculate time may be a little bit different. How uh, modern science may calculate, and then how the we calculate either you reference to sun or you reference through moon or you reference through atoms. Some reference is there ultimately, and that ultimate reference is some matter anyway. Ultimately, so Vaishnava calendar is just unique in its own way in the sense that it is referencing to. I don't know what it is referencing to. I think it is referencing to sun. I'm not or moon. Either one of them, I guess. That's why you have two calendars. In North India and South India, you have two little bit different ways
Mm.
of calculating things. But
Yeah.
yeah, those calculations are there. But but this is, I mean, what point I made is basically of more of a philosophical sense. It's not like in the sense of like some metal calculation.
Yeah, but for devotees, means according to my understanding, for devotees, when we see the calendar, right, like we don't see like calendar every minute or every like that, because there are special days of that we really want to see on Ekadashi. Oh, when is Ekadashi? When is this festival coming? So devotees, the mood of devotees is to celebrate those special days, or we have to follow some rules and regulations on specific days. There's a disappearance day or appearance day of Vaishnavas and all those things. For us, like Vaishnava calendar serves the purpose is like, because as you said, time is the cause. For us, looking at the Vaishnava calendar is that to have a relationship with the Supreme Lord and His devotees, like that in kind of a mode we also see. Whether it's a calculated, whether it's a modern science or it doesn't matter. But what is the purpose for us to see the calendar is to have that for a devotional purpose, not like a material purpose or anything. Especially, I'm talking about Vaishnava calendar.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And we can calculate only in our human calculations, because the spiritual calculation is made different, because we don't calculate according to demigods years or Brahma's years or supreme personal of godhead time, but our human calculations, whatever minutes, seconds, and hours and years and months, all those things. Yeah, so but the scripture, whatever the scriptures they are coming from, so these what we call those people who study the astronomy or that those calculations of the thidis and all those things, it may, I don't know if it is like completely material if they see, because the sun, what you say is like sun is material or spiritual. Because if we go into the deep, right, because if anything connected directly to the Supreme Lord, it, even though it is in, because there are not only in this universe there is sun, there are also other universe there is sun, it's not just one sun, right? So, and because we can see only one sun but on the earth planet, but there is something we cannot see, and there are also like supreme personality of God and eye of the Supreme Lord. So how can we say eye of the Supreme Lord is as material? So whatever is coming from sun god is can be seen related to some spiritual thing when it's not like completely material. That's what I wanted to mention. When we see everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, then it is not completely material. So
Yeah, I
that's why
mean, like this is something like Virat Purusha, right? Suppose
Mm.
because Virat Purusha conception,
That is
Virat Purusha is
imaginary
material
form.
form.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct,
imaginary means material only.
correct. Yes, it
Because
is. It is
it is
material
not
form.
just right.
Correct,
We of course we say Virat Purusha is Lord, but at the same time you say Virat Purusha is a material form. I mean, how can you
correct,
say material form to Lord? No, that is it's a conception, right? Basically, it's a consciousness, but the ultimate reality is it may matter only. I mean, matter is matter anyway, but the conception
correct,
can be spiritualized based on the vision of the person who is looking at it.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Any other questions or comments, Prabhu's and Matajis? Yeah, but thank you, Shyam Chandra Prabhu, for bringing that question and understanding the time for us, because the time can be understood in different ways. If we see like Krishna as time, and he is time is the cause, so we should understand that cause and act accordingly, right? Because we don't, if time is the cause, then how can we waste time, right? Because that is very precious. So we should plan our day in such a way that there is a specific reason for what we do during that time, so that ultimately it is related to that cause, and we act according to our the sastra, guru, sadhu, and sastra. There is something I wanted to mention in the, yeah, this is some reflections. Like time is Krishna's potency, is never independent. Devotees utilize time in his service. Misuse of time equal to bondage in material, right? Use in bhakti equal to liberation. And real wisdom to see the Lord's hand in every moment. That is, every moment is like, the time also, that's also time. If you see that Lord's hand is there in every time, and you see Lord everywhere in all the things, and every atom and instant is pervaded by Krishna as time. So there are some reflections. Okay, so if you have no other questions or comments, we can move on to the module overview. Let me just check. Here is my presentation here.
Correction, Prabhuji, done was from this.
Yes, it's Mataji.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Once,
What is your question, Mataji?
yeah, sorry, I forgot to ask. Actually, and one of the lecture of ISKCON devotee mentioned that a person cannot take one breath more or one breath less. When the time comes, the soul will leave the body. And I want to find out, is a person's lifespan is determined based upon the number of breaths or number of years?
Oh.
Is there anything?
Yeah, means I heard actually, means number of breaths, you can say, right? But how, see, number of years, you can, there is how many, we can use the time unit of measurement for anything, what we can write, how many minutes or how many months, how many years, that is there. But it is, as you said, their lifespan is based on number of breaths we take, right? Because if somebody quickly breathes, no, he will he will finish soon, right? So it's how it is same. Means whatever, how many breaths you will take in one day, right? It corresponding to how years. So it is the calculation whether you take years or months or anything, but the breaths, number of breaths you take is your, that's what I heard also, that our life is based on number of breaths. That's why we should, people do like pranayama, if you heard that, inhale and exhale and you control, and many yogis, they live for long because they control their breath. Because if you just use your breath for long, then your lifespan is less. So it's based on that.
Is it given in the scripture, Prabhuji, like Srimad Bhagavatam or
Yes, so
anywhere does it mention in the
just now
scripture?
we read, right, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the time, and he's actually his number of breaths. The many Brahmas comes and goes. So there also the calculation is given, like how many number of breaths, his breath and his glance, like that.
Thank you,
So
Prabhuji. Correction, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. So this is the module overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3 from chapters 1 to 11. So if you just see that Sarga and Visarga are part of this Canto 3, And in the part, there are different parts are given, part A and part B. That part A is meeting of Uddhava and Vidura, right? 1 to 4 chapters talks about the meeting of Uddhava and Vidura, and the chapter 1 talks about questions by Vidura. And so, where and when Vidura Maitreya Samvada happened, that is discussed in those chapters. And then here Duryodhana insulted Vidura, and Vidura gave up family, went to pilgrimage, and met Uddhava. Vidura inquired from Uddhava about Krishna, Yadus, and Kurus. And Uddhava remembers past times of Krishna in outside Vrindavan and informed about Yadu's disappearance. Then Vidura requested for spiritual bondage, knowledge from Uddhava, but Uddhava told him to meet Maitreya. Also instructed by Krishna, along with Uddhava, Vidura met Maitreya at Haridwar. So this is just an overview of these chapters. And then he explained about Purusha avatars, Virat Rupa, Leela avatars. And in the past times of Purusha avatars, creation of material elements and sons of Devatas' prayers. And then after hearing, then Vidura asked questions, right? How can Lord be connected with gunas? And how pure soul is engaged in essence? Why Jiva suffers though Lord is situated in the heart? And then Maya and gunas are explained. The powers of Lord belong to him, but he is without these gunas. And distress of Jiva is due to misidentification, and that distress is unreal. And then we discussed about Vidura asked more questions at the Vibhutis, Visharga, Manus, planets, and Varnashrama, all those things. And those are similar to Parikshit Maharaj also asked questions in the second canto, 8th chapter. And then Maitreya explained appearance of Brahma, Brahma's prayers for the creative energy, and Lord's reply to Brahma, right? How to create planetary systems. And then Vidura heard about time. Just now we discussed about the time, right? This chapter, the characteristics of time. Time in general explained in 3.10, and in detail calculation is given in 11th chapter. So lifespan of people beyond Kalpa are described in 3.11. In 3.9, 10 types of creation are also explained, primary and secondary. So those are all first 11 chapters. Just a brief overview of those. These are all next chapters. So we'll just some points we discussed from each chapter, just as a recap. That Sukadeva Goswami said, Vidura renounced home, left to forest, and inquired from Maitreya Rishi. Same questions which he inquired. Lord Krishna considered house of Pandavas as his own neglected house of Duryodhana. And Parikshit Maharaj actually inquisitiveness to ask about what is the discussion took place between the Maitreya and when and where this discussion took place. That's he asked. Then questions by Vidura. He purposeful approved by sages and his importance. And Suta Goswami mentions about Parikshit Maharaj questions that here atrocities of Kauravas is mentioned here. So blinded by desire to nourish and sinful son, Dhritarashtra tried to kill the nephews, the Pandavas, and he did not forbid disrobing of Draupadi, and her tears washed Kunkuma, the wives of enemies. This is all Mahabharata. Everyone, all of us know about what happened and how the Kauravas who lost any pious credits. And Vidura gave well appreciated advice. He asked Dhritarashtra to leave home, and then Pandavas are angry because they are patiently tolerating all the atrocities of Kauravas. And Lord Krishna is on their side, and he travels to Prabhasa Kshetra, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj, he rules over And then he understood about Kurukshetra war. He was not there during that time. And he saw the different places on the banks of Saraswati. So those are also mentioned. He visited many temples and the deities. And the purpose is like he remembered Lord Krishna. And then he met Uddhava, right? That is known as Kuru Jangada, a bank of Yamuna. Vidura met Uddhava. And then Uddhava, he inquired from welfare of Yadus and Kurus. And then, what happened there, Supreme Lord's descendants request of Brahma, and then how is, Vasudeva is munificent, how is Ugrasena. He also asks about all questions, all the Yadus and Kurus he asks. And then he also asks how is Bhima and Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva. And then he says how he laments about Dhritarashtra still being there. And then he talks about the descendants for the sake of devotees. So that is the first chapter, questions, all by questions of Vidura. And then second chapter, remembrance of Lord Krishna. So Uddhava continues to talk about his you see, just he mentioned he responded to Vidura's inquiries from the previous chapter. And so it's also mentioned about Uddhava's exalted position here, because he's in his childhood, he is so absorbed in playing with Lord's doll that he skips breakfast also. And in old age, his devotion did not slacken. His remembrance of Lord all the time. Uddhava had bodily transformations. Vidura could understand that position of Uddhava is exalted. And so he supposed to actually, he inquired initially from Uddhava, but the Lord's plan is to, get this knowledge from Maitreya Muni. Then he talks about the bewildering behavior of Lord Krishna, that although powerful Lord left planets in fear of enemy, all these bewildering incidents, he says, will give me distress. He says, then Lord gave liberation to even inimical Shishupala, which yogis aspire for. Who can tolerate separation from him? And it also says Lord is master of three. He worshipped by the demigods, offer him paraphernalia, and O Vidura, does not it pain us even when we remember Lord saying to Ugrasena, "Oh my Lord, please let it be known to you." So he actually mentioned about different pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrajabhumi. And so killing of all the demons and his pastimes. He talks about Kamsa and killing of Kamsa, and also making Indra, teach a lesson, and also the Brahma, right? Brahma Vimochan Leela, and Indra also during the Govardhana Puja during that time. And then he says killing of various demons, Kurukshetra war, and annihilation of Yadu dynasty. Those are also mentioned. And this is third chapter, the last pastimes out of Vrindavana. So killing of Kamsa and killing of various demons, Kurukshetra war, and annihilation of Yadu dynasty. So all those things are mentioned in third chapter. So if you just recap, first three chapters. First chapter is questions by Vidura. He asks all the questions, and the situations lead for him to leave the palace of the Dhritarashtra kingdom because of the atrocities of Kauravas. And then he leaves Suprabhasa Kshetra, and then there he met Uddhava and asked questions. In the second chapter, Uddhava actually respond to him and remembering all the pastimes of from Rajabhumi. And then in the third chapter, killing of the Kamsa and the demons and the Yadu dynasty, right? And Krishna as king of Dwaraka, pastimes with his internal energies, and then events lead to the annihilation of Yadus, also mentioned in the third chapter. And then fourth chapter, Vidura approaches Maitreya. So Uddhava to Vidura is Yadus took remnants, then drank liquor and become delirious, used harsh words at each other, and then Yadu's destruction, like a bamboos by friction, and how Krishna personally took shelter of a tree at the banks of Saraswati, and the Lord told him beforehand to proceed Padarikashrama. And actually, Uddhava, he says that he followed behind Krishna's path, and he saw Krishna sitting alone. Only Uddhava was there when before departing, Krishna departing from this at the end of Dwapara Yuga. And so Lord's beautiful form at that moment with four hands and reddish eyes, and Lord's sitting posture with banyan tree on his back, his right lotus flower, his left thigh. At that time, Maitreya also reached that spot of his own perfect accord, and Lord's attitude toward Uddhava was more intimate. That we know actually towards Maitreya Rishi, because his Uddhava is direct, he related to the Lord, and he is a friend of Krishna, and of course more intimate with Uddhava. And then so Lord says to Uddhava that I know what you desired when the Vashus and other demigods performed sacrifices. You particularly desired to achieve my association. Your present life is the last. You can go to Vaikuntha. Your visit to me in this lonely place is because of your pure devotional service. At the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma Srimad Bhagavatam. So he says that how he is, shared this knowledge to Brahma, and overwhelmed with Uddhava glorifies and prays to the Lord. Right? I was overwhelmed by Lord's reciprocation and spoke to him as follows. Oh, so he says, devotees who engage in the loving service of you have no difficulty in achieving anything, including liberation. But I have preferred only to engage in the service of your lotus feet. Right? Many devotees, they don't care about liberation, because liberation is a byproduct of your devotional service. So it is said Mukti Devi stands at the door of a devotee who is pure devotee, who actually serves Krishna with pure love and devotion. So even Uddhava is also seeking the same thing. So some devotional service only, not liberation. Even the sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that you engage in fruity work, enemy, and that you enjoy householder life by many women. You called upon me for consultation, and you are never bewildered, and this act of yours bewilders me. He says, Uddhava, kindly explain to us this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Uddhava decides to execute Lord's instructions. And when I expressed my desires, Lord instructed me about his transcendental situation. I have studied the path of self-knowledge from the Lord. After that, I have come to this place. I am now proceeding to Padarikashrama for his association. Then Vidura seeks spiritual knowledge from Uddhava here, because then Uddhava was explaining all these things. He thought he is my guru, and he was seeking spiritual knowledge from him. Then, after hearing from Uddhava about annihilation of relatives, Vidura pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge. While Uddhava was going away, Vidura questioned him that because the servants of Vishnu wander in the interest on serving others, so you kindly describe the self-knowledge. And you may take lessons from the great land sage Maitreya. He was directly instructed by Lord. So then Uddhava says, I'm not the person who gives. You get this knowledge from Maitreya Muni. So after that, Uddhava went away, and then So here Uddhava's special role about after the disappearance of the Lord is given. Maharaj Parikshit inquires the reason for Uddhava's remaining alone. And then Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, Lord wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought himself as follows. I see that Uddhava is the only one who can be entrusted with this knowledge about me, and Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way, therefore he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge. So that is also generally I mentioned that this during Srimad Bhagavatam installation we go to different homes and we mention about this that Uddhava during at the time of Krishna's departure from the this now to close his pastimes, Uddhava met the Lord and he asks the question that what will happen to the people in general when you depart from this world, because all this time you are there and people are taking shelter of you, but if you leave this world, then how where people can take shelter of? And Krishna says that in Kali Yuga I come in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam as a literary incarnation and people can take shelter of, right? So that kind of knowledge is given by Krishna to Uddhava and he wanted to disseminate this knowledge to others. And Vidura's enlightenment by Uddhava and further journey. Vidura also heard about his inconceivable science of Lord from Uddhava. The non-devotees can never understand these pastimes. Vidura cried out of gratitude that he got the mercy of the Lord through Uddhava. And now the Vidura to Maitreya. He talks to Maitreya. Vidura, already perfect devotee, approached Maitreya Rishi. And Maitreya Rishi also was very happy to receive a disciple like Vidura, who is like very devoted, a perfect devotee. And he narrated the Lord's pastimes of material creation, the Purusha avatars, and everything. And then Vidura's exclusive interest in Krishna Katha and no lesser topics. And he says, who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord? Right? Vyasadeva has described Mahabharata to attract mass of people to Krishna Katha. Then Krishna Katha increases indifference to all other things. And yeah, this is chapter 5. Vidura. Then Maitreya Rishi honors Vidura and expresses gratitude. By your questions, you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me. So generally, this is the humility of the Guru also, right? Because he is happy to get such a great disciple, and he is expressing the gratitude, and he receives the Vidura with great honor also. So he says, "For your good self, Lord left instructions with me." So that is the purpose of giving knowledge. Lord gave me knowledge, so I must, give that knowledge to you. That is the mode of Maitreya Rishi. And he starts replying to Vidura's inquiries. He says, okay, I shall describe the Lord's pastimes and Purusha incarnations, and also his plenary and separated parts and parcels throughout the creation, living entity, into Lord impregnating living entity, material nature, and the process of creation also explained. Right, all the false ego, goodness, mind, and demigods, mode of passion, the sky, everything, how from each material element, what are all the things comes. And so we actually discussed in detail during our class on the 5th chapter. And prayers by demigods also. Shelter of Lord's lotus feet is the umbrella for freedom from material miseries. So this is important for us also. Right? We take shelter of Lord's lotus feet whenever we are in troubles. The living entities in the material world never can have any happiness. So Lord's lotus feet are shelter of his holy places, holy man and holy river, right? Tirtha Pada. So it is, sometimes we cannot take shelter of Lord's feet directly, but if we visit those holy places where the Lord is there, that is also considered as shelter, taking shelter of Lotus feet by going to different tirthas. Meditation on Lord's lotus feet, devotion reveals all knowledge and detachment. And Lord's lotus feet awards remembrance and courage to devotees. And Lord's lotus feet as unapproachable by those bound by thoughts of I and mine. Yeah, the materialistic people, they cannot approach the Lord's lotus feet. And offensive persons cannot see your lotus feet, but they have seen by your pure devotees. So the path of devotion is very easy and ensures highest goal and all perfection. And other paths of self-realization are troublesome. So we are your creatures, therefore we are but yours only. That is the prayer of the demigods. See, if demigods pray like that, what to speak of us, right? We should have that much more than the gratitude we should have. This enlighten us regarding the ways by which we can offer you enjoyable grains and commodities. You are the original fount of all demigods. You are the oldest unchanged. So the kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render your service. So they are requesting for the service from Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord appoints them actually different in charge of this creation. So in the 6th chapter, the creation of the universal form is mentioned, and how the development of gigantic universal form is created. So Maitreya Vidura Lord noticed the suspension of progressive creative functions, right? And Lord applied his external energy, Kali, for further amalgamation of 23 elements. Thereafter, all living entities got awakened and lived into different activities. The Virat Rupa came into existence. So the total elements transformed into a gigantic form, and Virata Purusha lived for 1,000 celestial years on water of the universe till Brahma is born. So remember, these celestial years is years on the heavenly planets. We mentioned right earlier in our so there one day is like our 6 months. So one night, like whole 1 year is our there one day. So like that, 1,000 celestials, Virat Purusha was there. So consciousness, life, airs, and three modes of self-identification developed from Mahat Tattva. So this is important to understand. Mahat Tattva is manifestation of the consciousness, life, airs, and three modes of self-identification. So pradhana is unmanifested, and with the material nature. And when it is manifested with the consciousness, then becomes Mahat Tattva, and it is the main ingredients of the creation. And unlimited entities and aggregate creation rests on gigantic Virat Rupa. Gigantic universal form is represented by 3, 10, and 1. Now all the demigods are entrusted with the task of constructing cosmic manifestation. And then manifestation of different demigods are mentioned, right? The different demigods, Agni, Varuna, Ashwini, Kumaras. So different body parts of the universal form. And then talks about, development of planets, living entities, and varnas also mentioned. The highest perfection can be obtained simply hearing Lord's glories. So varnas as part and parcels are supposed to serve supreme whole under the direction of the spiritual master. And who can estimate the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form? Maitreya Muni feels very humbled and feels himself unworthy to describe Lord's glories. In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear and assimilate, I'm describing. Like that, he says, simply hearing and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam is a perfectional state of life. And Brahma could know only that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconceivable. Further example of Lord's inconceivability is also given. The wonderful potency of the Lord is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord. So Lord is beyond words, mind, and ego, and only be known by a devotee. And further inquiries by Vidura. That is the 7th chapter. So Vidura's request to clarify misconceptions about Ishvara and the Jivas. So he wanted to just see the difference. Even though he knows, but he wanted a little bit explanation on that. That Vidura asked the following questions, inquiries about the Lord. How is Lord connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? And how the Lord is self-satisfied and completely detached at all times? And how Lord creates the universe and withdraws by Maya Shakti? And how does the pure soul become engaged in a sense? And how the Lord is situated in every living being's heart? Right? Why do then living entities suffer? This is an important question. My mind is illusion, and I request you to clear it up. So these are the further questions by Vidura, and Maitreya Muni, he actually answers those in the 7th chapter. At first, Maitreya seemed astonished, but then replied to Vidura that Maitreya Rishi first refutes the illogical statements about Lord, that the Supreme Personality of God is overcome by illusion and he is unconditioned. This is against all logic, against all logic. Maitreya answers Vidura's inquiries about Jiva, that distress of all living entity is due to misidentification. That is the main problem. Misidentification of I and mine, the body, de-identification, which is also called as false ego. And then as the moon reflected on water appears to tremble, so the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. So Maitreya Muni proposes the solution. And then he says misconception of self-identity can be diminished by the mercy of the personality of Godhead through the process of devotional service. So that is important. So how we can reduce our misidentification with the body is through the process of devotional service. And when the senses are satisfied, the super soul, all miseries are vanquished. It is like a pouring water to the root of the tree. And devotional service is the ultimate means to mitigate all miseries. Then Vidura shares his heartfelt realizations with Maitreya that all my doubts have been removed and disturbances of the jivas have no other basis than external energy of the Lord, Maya Shakti. And he also says both the lowest fools and that are liberated enjoy happiness, all others suffer. Serving great transcendentalists helps one factually to realize the platform of absolute truth. So, serving spiritual master reveals transcendental ecstasy and dispels all material distress. And then Vidura inquires more in detail. Vidura asks more questions. And he says, Supreme Lord entered into Mahatattva with senses and sense organs. Karanodaka Sai Vishnu lies on the causal ocean, his Virat form, all the planets and their inhabitants do. He's explaining, he's asking that, kindly explain to me the different powers of specific divisions, vibhutis, which populated the whole world, all that Brahma has created, manus and different planets and living beings and their distributions and gunavataras, varnashrama. So all these questions he asked. And further inquiries by Vidura. And then he also asks about the Pitrus constellation arrangement and faithless atheists process of completely satisfying Supreme Personality of Godhead, the dissolution, and the knowledge of the Vedas. And Vidra declares, after asking, he actually declares confidence in Maitreya that he can, he can only reveal this knowledge to him. Without the Guru, the knowledge is impossible. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari and kindly describe them. Your answer to all the questions will create immunity from all material miseries. And in the next chapter, he explains, Maitreya Muni explains the response to his questions, and he talks about manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. And so first 9 verses actually he mentioned about the disciplic succession of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Maitreya to be the dynastic king Puru or devoted to the Lord, you are also born in this family. So let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavad Purana, which was directly spoken by the Lord. It says, Sanat Kumara, accompanied by other sages, inquired from Lord Sankarsana about truths of Vasudeva. And disciplic section of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarsana to Maitreya. And Lord Sankarsana's meditating on Vasudeva for the sake of the sages, he began to speak. This is one of the disciplic succession, but there is another also, right? Lord Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasa, Vyasa to Sukadeva Goswami, to Parikshit Maharaj and everyone there. Samsuta Goswami to sages at my Naimisharanya. And here also it is another disciplic succession, that how Lord Brahma to Sanat Kumara, and from the sages inquired from Lord Sankarsana, and from the Sankarsana to Lord Sankarsana to Maitreya. And Lord Sankarsana's meditating on Vasudeva for the sake of the sages, he began to speak. And from Lord Sankarsana to Sanat Kumara to Sankyayana Muni. From Sankyayana to Parashara Muni and Brahaspati. From then Brahaspati to Uddhava also there. Brahaspati to Uddhava. And then from Parashara to Maitreya Muni. So that is we have to remember those, that if somebody asks question, we should be able to answer this, how the Maitreya Muni to Vidura happened, right? That disciplic succession. And then Garbhodak Sai Vishnu, explanation of reawakening of creation by Maitreya Muni. He explains that Garbhodak Sai Vishnu resting during the night of the Brahma, and then he remained within the water for a long time, and then the Lord lay down for 4,000 yuga cycles. And then we know the time calculation from the previous class. Lord's glance agitated material elements with rajas along with settled bodies of living entities, and he then pushed through the navel a lotus bud, and so then the manifestation of Brahma happens. So because he born from the lotus, the flower from the navel of sprout from the navel of Lord Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. And into that lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as the super soul, and Brahma was generated on lotus bud. Brahma obtained 4 heads while examining 4 directions. Lord Brahma could not perfectly understand the creation, and then he was desperate in search of absolute truth. Then he contemplated. He remained unsuccessful. So that we have to see, because sometimes we try to use our own mind to contemplate and understand, but unless we surrender to the Lord, we will not get sometimes specific solution to our problems. So while searching in this way, Brahma's duration life was decreasing. Then he came back again to the top of the lotus and concentrated his mind on the Lord. At the end of 100 years of meditation, he could see the Lord in his heart. So beauty of the Lord revealed. So Brahma was able to see the Lord's form, and he was actually describing the beauty of the Lord. The luster of the body, the yellow dress, the helmet bedecked with jewels, his transcendental body, his lotus feet. So all those things he described. His beautiful smile and his decorated body decorated with jewels and pearls and hoods and a large body covered by the hoods of Ananta, and then seen with the thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Anantanaga, and he was fully decorated with valuable jewels and submerged in the water of devastation. And Lord Brahma concludes that object of meditation is Hari, and Brahma starts thinking about his service to the Lord. You can only see 5 factors, that is the lotus enamel, Brahma, and 3 elements of water, air, and ether. Only those. Nothing else was there at that time. And then he began offering prayers. So the 9th chapter starts. It's Brahma's prayers for creative energy. And then Brahma's prayers. After attaining mercy, one can meet the Lord and know the Lord. So today, after years of penance, I got to know you. Embodied jivas are unfortunate because you're only the object to be known. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. And this form is seed of all incarnations. This incarnation is the origin of many other incarnations. I am born to you. So he prays, Brahma prays like this. He says, your form is not different from Brahman, but I worship personal form. So that's also very important for devotees. We worship only personal form. Because no deterioration, because we come from Brahma, right? Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, ours. We also follow Brahma in worshipping personal form. Why do I surrender to personal form only? Is also given. This present form is auspiciousness for 3 worlds, and devotees meditate on this form while demons who do not are frustrated. Devotees are successful and dear to Lord than jnanis, because persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. But the devotees, if they have wife, children, and wealth, are also materialists? Good question, actually, here. O my Lord, the people of the world are always afraid to protect wealth, body, and friends because of I and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your lotus feet, they are full of such anxieties. Then why everyone does not take to devotion? Those who does not chant Lord's holy names are bereft of auspiciousness. They enjoy sense gratification only for a while. And then he explains about miseries of Java. Actually, Brahma is compassionate towards the jivas, and he mentions all these things. We discussed in the class from the 9th chapter. Why do you lament for material existence since it is worthless? My Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. As long as jiva wants sense gratification, he is affected. Even jnani is affected by world. Only devotees are saved. Otherwise, all the living entities are continue to reborn in this material world since they are averse to your association. So then he talks about bhakti, even without jnana, delivers one from material existence. Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, Shravanam, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees. So we discussed that how our chanting purifies our hearts so that Lord can sit on that in that place. And when we Shravanam happens, then we invoke that love and devotion from the heart, That's how we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in our hearts by process of the Shravanam, one of the 9 process of devotional service. And then he says, Your Lordship, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, who are indefatigable, time and enjoyer of all sacrifices. Although I stay for 2 pararthas, still I surrender to time factor. So this is very important. If Brahma can live 100 years, right, which is how much in our calculations? Is it like 311 trillion years? Right? So he surrendered to the Lord. So what to speak of us? Lord is highest of us, object of worship with the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And you come just to fulfill the obligations of your own principles of religion. And therefore, O Supreme Personality, I offer obeisances to you. He says, offering respect to form he sees. Sleep in violent water, snake bed, all universe in your belly. I born from your lotus navel. He describes all those things, Brahma. And then he says, empower me with the introspection to create and protect me from false ego. You should also pray like this actually. Oh Krishna, please protect me from false ego. Save me from deviating Vedic scriptures. Yes, this is also required for us, right? We should not deviate from Vedic scriptures and waking up prayer. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me in his lotus eyes. And then, so Supreme Lord, after prayers of Brahmaji, then Supreme Lord's reply. He says, having understand your desire and service more, Brahma, he spoke, do not be anxious. And he says, will also say, I already granted you before whatever you asked. And he says, penance meditation following knowledge, you receive my favor. And he says, you will see me in you and throughout the universe, and you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. And he says, he gives the analogy for vision and absorbed devotee. And a fire situated in wood. And that is one analogy we discussed. In which stage a person can attain me, freed from the conceptions of gross and subtle bodies, when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature. So that's when we can, attain personality of Godhead. I'm giving you mercy from all time for all time to come. You shall never be deprived in this service. You need not fear of Rajoguna. Since your mind is always fixed on me, the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. So that is, so we should also, if you want to cross over these 3 gunas, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness also, we should go to Vishuddha Sattva Guna. For that, what is required is fixed our mind on Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he says, why you got my mercy? Because you have known that my form is spiritual. I revealed my form when you are in searching the base for base of navel. Even your ability to praise me was by mercy only. The prayers that you have chanted, the penances you have undertaken, your firm faith in me all. So these are all required for us also. And then the chapter 10, divisions of the creation. Brahma starts with Sarga as instructed by the Lord. So the primary creation is Sarga, and then Visarga is secondary creation by Brahma. And primary creation started with Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. Then what did Brahma do after he left? Maitreya starts answering. Brahma meditates on the Lord for 100 celestial years. And then he notices that lotus on which he was sitting and water devotion was trembling due to devastation. And then Brahma was entrusted with the job of creation because of his 2 qualities, right? Dharmasya vipaka and animitasya. And then characteristics of the time. Oh, wait. We have something. Yeah. So the characteristics of time is given here in the 10th chapter. So he says the 7 characteristics of time are cause of agitation of modes, without attributes, without beginning and an efficient cause of creation and representation of Lord's power, and it divides the universe into 14 planets and it is cyclical. Yeah. So the time cause of agitation of modes also mentioned here. That is one of the characteristics of time. 10 types of creation, the 6 types of primary creation by Mahavishnu, and the 6 primary and 3 secondary and 1 mixed, the 10 types of creation. And the 3 types of destruction at the end of Brahma's day and night, and then destruction of the body at death. Then 6 types of primary creation of Mahatattva and the creation of false ego, creation of sense objects, creation of karma and jnanendriyas, the creation of mind and sense of devatas, and ignorance. Those are all 6 types of creation. And then 10 types of creation is the second, including the secondary creation by Brahma. Here now about secondary creation, the 7th creation is 6 kinds of plants and herbs. And then he talks about the species distribute their nourishment upwards, almost unconscious, have a feeling of pain and cut. So now the Nandadulal Prabhu explained all these things in the previous class. They have unlimited varieties, and the 8th creation is animals with distribution of the food, their food horizontally, and then the types of animals with cloven hooves, without cloven hooves, and a few 5 nails, and the birds, right? And then the 9th creation is humans, their characteristics also mentioned. The nutrition from top to bottom, predominantly mode of passion, and then dedicated to work, and creation of sense devatas, primarily creation. And the 10th creation is creation of 8 kinds of devatas. And then he says, let me now describe the manvantaras and vamshas. So, yeah, the 11th chapter, calculation of time from atom. And so Maitreya, he discussed about the time, right? Paramanu of distance and Param Mahan of distance. So we should understand that Param Mahana and Paramanu. Just as a matter of small and big divisions, time also has small and big divisions, and Paramanu and Paramahan. And other divisions also we discussed earlier, the Anu, Trisharenu, Tuti, Veda, Lava. So one Lagu is how many minutes? Anybody remember? One Lagu is 2 minutes, right, approximately. And then, yeah, Samvatsara and a Parama you also described. And days and night of demigods lifespan. Sun decreases the life of living entities spanning from Paramana to Paramayu. And then all the units of time are mentioned. And the lifespan of others who are beyond the kalpa of Brahma. So we should understand the smallest division of time is then atomic time, and then the cosmic time. So Vidura asks further, he wanted to know about the cosmic time also. Then it talks about the yugas and the duration of the yugas and the kalpas, manvantaras, and it goes up to the time span of the Lord, the breath of the Lord. How many? The one breath is actually so many lifetimes of Brahma. Many Brahmas comes and goes during the lifetime of the just time of the breath of the Lord. So we discussed about that. And then during the Manvantara, the universe is protected by the Manus and the Manvantara avatars. Lord, by accepting a small portion of mode of ignorance through the form of Kalagni Rudra destroys. So three worlds at the end of Brahma's day, and also during that time, three worlds disappear, and then Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu remains in that water, lying in Ananta Sesha, while being glorified by the residents of Janaloka. So we discussed that Bhrugumuni, when at the time goes to that Janaloka, because Lord Sankarshana, heat was like they could not bear that heat, and there are some personalities who live during that time of devastation also. So one of them is Bhrugumuni, and thus days and nights pass for Brahma also, thus life also comes to end. So 50 years is one prarabdha, and the first prarabdha is over, and second prarabdha we are in now. And the first day of the second day of Brahma is called Varaha Kalpa, and then time is the controller. So this Dvipara, the time is only one nimesha of the Lord, so that we should understand. And time is controller of anyone with lifespans between Paramanu and Dviparartha. It doesn't matter the lifespan, but time is the controller, and time is the cause. It says the universes with 500 crore yojana size took as small as Paramanu when they come out of the bodily pores of Mahavishnu. Yeah, we actually discussed about the diameter of the material world, right? The 430 billion miles. And just imagine how the small Paramanu, it appears like small Paramanu when it comes from the pores of the bodily pores of Mahavishnu. That body of Mahavishnu is not different from Brahman, which is the cause of all causes. So that is, we discussed in the 11th chapter. So that's the overview of all the 11 chapters. Sorry, I took more time today because of this, because we had to go through a lot of chapters. Any final questions or comments? Any questions about our test next week? Hare Krishna. Looks like some devotees already
Krishna
left.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So we need to write 5 short essay questions, right, Prabhuji? 5 under 10.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Only there are no slokas.
Prabhuji, can I take the exam on Sunday instead of Saturday?
Do you talk to Shyamachandra Prabhu?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, you are there, right? Shyamachandra Prabhu?
Yeah, but the thing is that you want to take earlier than the exam date because the paper should be ready by then.
But Sunday, Prabhuji, I think Saturday is the exam date. Can I take it on Sunday? The next day?
One day later. Yeah, one later is fine, not earlier.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, any final questions or comments before it's already 10?
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All the best for your exam next week. So, Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antakoti Vaishnavanda ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.